This is Richard back at you guys. We got Mr. Jones 90 model Dodge pickup in the house. We've already did a couple videos on some oil leaks, scanning the vehicle, the transmission tear down. Well, this time here we've got a 241D HD transfer case, extra heavy duty. Doesn't show to be anything wrong with it, he says. Seems to be working fine, but it's if you look at it, it's just really nasty looking. We've had leaks on the tranny. Motor area, stuff like this blowing back. This thing's been collecting dirt and dust and grime for a long time. But we're going to get it apart and see if there's physically any type of internal damage, wear, or anything that needs to be addressed. That way when we put his transmission in, transfer case, and his beautiful brand new drive shaft. Now we use Allied Driveline Services here in Amarillo. A really good company. We've been using them for as long as we can remember, huh, Teresa?
Man, and if you remember, this didn't look nothing like this when we
definitely
showed y'all.
It had to have a new knuckle here. The splines on the slip yoke right there was wore out, so they just basically had to redo the whole unit. Because we don't want no vibrations at all, especially in four-wheel drive, because that's what tore it up to start with. Vibrated the transfer case loose on the back of the tranny, just multiple things. So, but let's get this apart really quick. Here we'll start. We'll start here at the seal. I'm going to use air this time. Excuse me, Trace. I'm going to grab this hose. A lot of these bolts here are pretty snug. A lot of people don't know that I'm fixing to have a shoulder replacement. So hopefully I can keep it going for many more years to go. Right, Teresa?
Yep.
Gotta keep on going. Now it does have a little slot right here, so you can stick a screwdriver in here, see that little flat spot, so you can get in there and get behind it and pop it off. Now you do have a seal here. It's like a double-sided seal. It won't let fluid go either direction. Also, there's a seal in the overdrive adapter that keeps the transmission fluid from coming back into this area too. So basically, this area here is a dry area. There shouldn't be any fluid in here at all. Seal's really hard though. Almost brittle. Now on our studs here, we showed in an earlier video, a lot of it, like when I unscrewed this stud, you can see how much stud was in there the time your transfer or your adapter is that thick. So this bolt here was just barely hanging on, the stud was. This one come out with the nut. So we'll take all these out, Loctite them back in, that way we know they don't loosen up next time around. Now I've already took this switch here loose. This is your vacuum switch here that controls the engagement of the front differential. You move the shifter here, pushes up on this little button looking thing here, and it controls which way it pulls the fork in or it pulls it out to apply the axle. It's only applying, almost it's got a shift fork on the passenger side of the rear end that moves like this to lock the passenger axle in. Kind of weird how it works, but it works pretty good. Let's go ahead and get this yoke off here. Switch over to Bertha. There we go. Come off really nice. Thought I was going to have to pull it off with a puller. You always want to look at these yokes here because a lot of times people put what they call a yoke saver. You want to look here and see if it's had a sleeve pressed on it. This one here has the cover on it, but it doesn't have a sleeve. But that seal is right there on there. Look at that. Starting seal. So the next seal you get, you want to make sure it's identical to this one here, because if this is some type of seal saver or yoke saver, the seal will be too big to go back on here. So this looks like a cover that's here to here, but I can't tell if that's just a saver or part of this cover. So I have to clean it up a lot better and kind of just look at it a little bit better. This is one dirty transfer case. You can see here 241D HD. So if you need any parts for this unit, that's what you're going to be giving the number to.
That's your identification tag.
Yep.
A lot of those aren't even there.
So, and also your eight digits on your last VIN numbers too are really important. They're going to ask you for that. I'm hoping everything looks really nice in here. That way we can just clean it up, put some shift fork inserts in there, and be done with it. There. Also, we have this little plug here. It'll come in your gasket seal kit. You can see here, it's hard to tell now since I moved it, but it was starting to leak here and run down and clean all this off right here. Now there is a snap ring down in here. Try to nothing's easy anymore. There we go. You can see the snap ring right here that you have to open up to get it out. You want to look at your bushing down in here, make sure it's not wobbled out or anything like that. Make sure it looks really good. Sure, the bushing's pretty tough to get. Got your gasket. Of course, we have our roller bearing here. Just remember which way your snap ring groove goes. It's on the outside. You don't want to put it flipped the other way, then you'll never get it on. Remember that. Clean your bearing up, check it. You have another snap ring right here. These are identical, that you can switch them. Same thickness, same everything. So, pretty simple. Now this transfer case has two dowels, one here and one here on each end, and if there's a dowel, there's a washer. You'll see this bolt right here, / stud, has a washer. There wasn't nothing hooked to these two studs right here. You know, maybe they had a bracket sometime or another. It used to be there, it's not there no more. None of the other bolts will have a washer on them. Just the ones that go over the dowels. Remember that. And also we have a spot here for the transfer case. You can put something in there and try to pry it open. I don't like to pry it towards the dowel. I always try to pry it this way, or you don't want to mess up the dowel pin. Anyway, with this one here. I hate transfer cases. They're always squirmy. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull this off here. If I can get it out of there still. I took this one apart just a little different than I normally do. I'm just going to try to get it. There we go. Do it that way. Now what we have here is our pump. We have our suction here. You can see here's where the pressure is. Comes out here. It's got a seal here, which forces it down through this hole, this lube hole here, and which lubricates everything above. This is all splash oil through here that gets the chain, picks up, splashes it everywhere in four-wheel drive. But in two-wheel drive, this is normally just sitting still, so it relies on this pump to lubricate everything once the drive shaft starts turning. Now there is a little O-ring in here that's special. If you're gonna just taking it apart, put seals in, and you just bought the seals only, you don't want to lose that little O-ring right there, because that is special. And I mean special. I even save all the old ones. Probably got 4 or 5 old ones over there. I always buy a gasket set that has them, but I always save them too. We have our magnet here. Got quite a bit of trash on it, but you know, not too bad. Nothing really laying down in the bottom of the case. Got plenty of silicone on it, a lot of overhang. A lot of times this falls off and gets in the filter. Suction filter, the silicone does. Now on this spring right here, you have this little cup, I guess you could call it, sets on there like that. Your spring. I'll just pull it all, but do it this way. Okay. Got a big snap ring that holds your gear on. This is your driven gear from the drive gear to your four-wheel drive part, your drive shaft. I always like to try to remember which way these go. That way the chain can always stay wearing the same direction, I guess you could say. See if there's any marking IDs on this thing. You always want to clean it up and look for any type of discoloring little piece here. The link will be, could have 2 purple links, 1 purple link, and it might not have no different color links at all. So you always want to check for that, because they could ask you that if you're ordering a chain. We have our shift fork inserts here, these little plastic pieces, little fingers here. The seal kit comes with all of them. This is already starting to get a lot of wear here. It gets really thin, then it doesn't push the collar all the way into gear or into low range or high range four-wheel drive. Now you notice here we have a synchronizer ring. This thing here can be shifted on the fly. So if you're going down the road, you can pull it into four-wheel drive and going down the road. So that blocking ring right there will physically line the collar up to this gear to slide onto it, to lock it in four-wheel drive. So you always want to check that for any type of wear. We'll take it apart and clean it and check it, but if this ring is bottomed out right in here, then it's wore out. Right now we have a big old gap in between the ring and this gear right here. It looks really good, but if it's sitting here and it bottoms out against here, that means there's no braking left up for the ring to do, because this is basically just a brake. Now your range fork down in here, the tabs are made to the fork. You notice that? If these wear out, you have to replace the whole fork. So you want to look at now. These might come in a kit in our overhaul gasket set, but these will not. This fork will not be in there, and those will not retrofit onto this. You can't break them off and put them on there. You have to buy another fork. This collar right here, on some of them, the gear will just pull completely out, and it comes out with the fork. This one here, you have to take the snap ring off the collar, and then pull the collar off with it, like that. Okay. Now, if you notice this here, we have this big gear out here on this planet. Okay, this is called is designed for a PTO. So you can take this cover off right here, and you can put a PTO on the side of it to turn a hydraulic pump, to use a hydraulic winch, you know, all kinds of hydraulic stuff you can run off a PTO, and the PTO gear just comes in and lines up and locks into this gear here. Now you do have to shim the PTOs because it's just like setting up a rear end. You don't want to tighten it down and it just butts up against this gear and almost locks it down. You actually got to get some clearance in there. So they do make a shim kit to shim your PTO away from this gear right here. Some of these old snap rings are really stout. You don't want to just bend them, then you have to buy a snap ring kit too, so you don't want to do that. Of course, you have your input bearing right here. You want to take it out, clean it, clean all your silicone around here out because you're going to be siliconing your cover on it and your seal back on there. So, but you can see what a PTO planetary ring gear looks like here, made to the planet. And then you can get in there. Come on. Oh, had it for a second. There we go. Excuse me. Now you have a washer that sits down in there that has 2 tabs. Sits down in there just like that. Get over there you go. Sits down in there just like that. And the top one here has 2 tabs too when you put this all back in there. Now we get some of them in here that do not have 2 tabs on the top, which is fine. You never run a washer down on the bottom that has no tabs. You always have to have a washer on the bottom that has tabs. The top one, not so much. Okay? You want to look at this gear here. You want to look at the collar that goes in here and locks in there. If you get wear here out on the outer edges or out here on the outer edges, that's what causes it to jump out of 4-wheel high or 4-wheel low. So you always want to check that too. Well, Teresa, this is about the nastiest transfer case that we've seen in a while, don't you think?
I think so.
And I believe the tranny before that was even worse, so wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
it stunk really bad, definitely. Well, guys, we appreciate you watching our YouTube channel. Go subscribe, push the notification bell. We hope to have a lot more to come. We want to thank Miss Teresa for doing the best videoing possible, and Miss Annie always crashed out. So y'all have a great day.